let's get the meeting started. Mike, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Larry, would you lead us in prayer this evening?
Sure. Father God, thank you for the opportunity to serve you more. And Lord, we just pray that we will be your stewards and that we will create a community and an atmosphere that is uplifting to you and that glorifies you and that brings people closer to you. Lord, guide us in your steps. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, roll call.
Counselor Foster?
Yo!
Counselor Locke?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola?
Here.
Mayor Becker will be out this evening, but a quorum is declared.
All right, modifications to agenda.
No, sir, there is none.
Okay. Approval of consent agenda and minutes of regular meeting, review and approval of accounts payable.
Motion to approve minutes of regular meeting and consent agenda and accounts payable.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions?
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola?
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the consent agenda.
All right. Proclamations, communications, and appointments. Proclamation for Farmers Market Coalition.
Okay, this is a proclamation for the Monte Vista Farmers Market Week, August 1st through August 7th. Whereas San Luis Valley farmers and ranchers provide citizens with access to healthful, locally and regionally produced foods through farmers markets, which are expanding and evolving to accommodate the demand for a diverse array of agricultural products. And whereas farmers markets and other agricultural direct marketing outlets provide infrastructure to assist in the distribution of farm and value-added products, thereby contributing approximately $9 billion each year to the U.S. economy. And whereas farmers markets serve as significant outlets by which small to medium, new and beginning, and veteran agricultural producers market agricultural products, generating revenue that supports the sustainability of family farms and the revitalization of rural communities nationwide. And whereas the Monte Vista City Council and Mayor recognize the importance of expanding agricultural marketing opportunities that assist and encourage the next generation of farmers and ranchers, generate farm income to help stimulate business development and job creation, build community connections through rural and urban linkages, and more. Whereas the Monte Vista Farmers Market provides essential services to the community through SNAP vouchers, double up food bucks, and the unique opportunities for customers to connect with and learn from vendors from the local farm, ranch, artist, and crafting communities. Now, therefore, to further awareness of farmers markets' contributions to Monte Vista life, I, Dale Becker, Mayor, do hereby proclaim the week of August 1st through 7th, 2021 as Monte Vista Farmers Market Week, in conjunction with the observation of the National Farmers Market Week. I call upon Monte Vista, Rio Grande County, and San Luis Valley citizens to celebrate farmers markets with appropriate observance of activities. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 5th day of August 2021, 240th year of our independence of the United States.
Awesome. If you guys haven't got to the farmer's market, I encourage you guys to get there. If you guys don't have your own garden, I encourage you guys to do your own garden, because then it'll encourage you guys to get there. All right. Citizen comments, special presentations, scheduled appearances. In order to be included on this portion of the agenda, please file the appropriate form with the city clerk no later than noon on Monday prior to the meeting. Tennis League.
Good evening, council. I got a little PowerPoint presentation, but I'll give you a brief little history. In your packets, you actually have a letter signed by one of the women's leagues that play tennis out there. And really the concern that they wanted me to address with council is the condition of the tennis courts. So this is the letter, and it's basically saying I don't know where to stand, kind of stand out of the way. But the ladies that play out there, there's a lot of large cracks. So they wanted to bring in, a few of them are here tonight. So if you guys have any questions or they want to say anything, they can do that. But they have some concerns. The leagues in the past have done some items to help the tennis courts. So they are invested financially and stuff in those courts. A couple of years back, we went ahead and we moved a contractor in and we had to resurface it. But the actual surface itself is starting to show some base failure, and that's kind of why some of the cracks are showing. They contacted me in July, and we had a little bit of miscommunication, and with my surgery and stuff, we kind of missed each other for a while. But as weekly users of the court, they've noticed that a consistent deterioration of the courts, primarily from cracking. The cracks are getting larger, and some of them are getting to the point where weeds are actually growing up through them. Some of the other areas of concern are screening material, the curtains that are used there for the windscreens. Those are old, and they've been old for a few years. We've tried to leave them up as soon as spring comes, but the winds, our spring winds, just rip them up. So we keep them, we take them down in the fall, and we literally do not put them back up until after all the snow comes off the peaks and the winds kind of die down around here. That makes probably the first month and a half probably a little challenging for them to play and try to see the tennis balls and stuff. As I was saying earlier, the cracks that are forming are actually some signs of some base failure. Base failure, if we don't do something, will result where those tennis courts will have to be completely rebuilt. That might be something Chief was just telling me that's probably something we could look at, maybe a GOCO grant or something like those. But I think for us, for right now, our biggest thing is let's try not to let them get to the point where they're going to absolutely need a complete rebuild. Here's some ideas. This is some of the existing present conditions. You can see that some of those cracks are quite large. Oops, I hit the wrong button. There we go. That's a picture that shows it's a pretty wide crack for a tennis court. Trying to hit a ball on that. Some of the other ones that actually show some weeds growing up. So they're all fairly large cracks that are showing, some more weeds. And this is a good picture that kind of shows the wind screens and stuff. And like I said, they're several years old. And they're really kind of brittle, so the guys really have to take care, and we're limiting the use of those just simply to try to make them last. To replace those windscreens will be in excess of $5,000. So we've already kind of priced those. So the cracking, it was only a few years ago that we paid a contractor to come in and resurface those tennis courts. He filled all the cracks and did all of that. So for them to permeate back up through there as quick as they have has me a little worried about the base condition. There's something, moisture getting in there somewhere and causing the base to fail. So that's something we need to look at. And that's bullet point number 2. In order for us to really do anything adequate to try to mitigate this, we need to look at some additional funding. What I have in my parks budget really doesn't allow me to go out and purchase some Mastec kind of crack sealants. Rebuild of the tennis courts will cost the city in excess of $100,000. it will be more than $100,000 to tear out those existing tennis courts and replace exactly what we have. I think, and that's why I said, I think we can buy more time with more of a mastic types crack sealant, but we need to budget for the cost. So really, the shade netting, again, the nets are very old. We've been trying to save them as much as we can. I won't go through all of these. But like I said, some of the things, and I'll let the ladies kind of talk to it if they want to, but in the early spring, it's probably, I don't know if dangerous is the right term, but it's definitely uncomfortable to be out there trying to play tennis with the bright sun hitting you and trying to find and, you know, actual target the tennis ball. So, so we were thinking, and I was thinking that, you know, budget season's really not that far away. We're gonna be going into the 2022 budget, and with their concerns that brought up, it's a good thing for us to go into the budget for. It's something we can plan in 2022 to maybe put some budget in to either replace the nets and or do some Mastec repairs. I can get you guys costs, but I kinda wanted just to bring a presentation forward and let council know as we do head into the budget cycle, that the tennis courts are being used, not just by the user groups as far as the tennis leagues, but every, you know, pretty much every day, every weekend, we have more and more people using it. Jaime just talked to me a little bit about maybe bringing in some temporary pickleball users and try to tape off some of the courts more for a pickleball court. And then as the new courts get set up in Sky High and that building gets completed, then they already have the leagues and the people using it, and they can just move into Sky High. So it's an idea. Like I said, use is going up. I think it's an asset that we don't want to lose. And if we do some preliminary budgeting and try to look at the smaller stuff, then that gives us time to look at a GOCO grant or some additional monies where we can do a rebuild of that project and actually either expand them or make them a little bit nicer than where they are now. So
How old are the courts?
last information, they were built in the late 90s, and I think the tennis league and the doctor, I think it was 2007 that they bought the netting. So, like I said, everything's getting really past its life cycle. I mean, most of that type netting being out in the sun and stuff, we really only have a life cycle of about 5 to 7 years. So we've well exceeded the life cycle of that type of netting. So, and that's why I said, I think really for us, the good news is we are heading into budget cycle. Nothing's been decided for next year. A couple options that I did list here for you guys to think about. We're going to have a mid-year budget amendment that's gonna be coming up for some other things. So it's something we could look at, or the safe bet is to just plan for 2022, go through the budget cycle, put some money towards it, approve it during our normal budget cycle for 2022. As soon as that budget's approved in January, then that allows me to go ahead and do some of the crack sealing when it's best. And that's when it's cold and the ground's frozen, that's when the cracks are gonna be its widest. So if we do the Mastec at that point, we're gonna actually fill the crack when it's at its widest, so as it heats up, it'll contract it back down on itself and it'll make that seal even tighter. So that'll be a good thing. So that's why I said, this is actually a good time. I mean, it sounds a little doomy and gloomy, but it's really, if it's gonna happen, this is the best time, because we are just moving into our budget cycle. Something that's council, you know, I don't need any actions today. I think I'll open it up to see if the ladies have anything they wanna add.
Well, first of all, we just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to have courts. These were the pictures, some of the pictures that you can just pass around. We're so grateful that we have the tennis courts, and we're willing to help, like with cleanup, with all that. In fact, some of the pictures with those elm trees, they're everywhere. Anyway, we pulled all of those and fixed all that So the courts look really nice right now as far as, except for the cracks. And like you see, they're getting pretty big. It's asphalt. The last time that you approved, it was actually 6 years ago. It was in 2016, I think September. They resurfaced it and they were beautiful, but not, like maybe a couple months later, there was already a crack starting. So I don't know if they just didn't seal them. So yeah, if he, like he's saying, just to seal them now would be great. And that's more important than even the screens. Like in Alamosa, we play down there too. We haven't had the screens all summer because they just now got their courts resurfaced, which, by the way, this is their card. And so.
Is that the card for the guy that's doing the crack sealing?
Yeah, well, no, they have post-tension cement in Alamosa, so they don't, it doesn't crack. It's wonderful. But I imagine it's kind of expensive. And I don't know whether you have to take up all the asphalt. I don't know anything about that.
In order to do concrete, you have to take up the asphalt.
Yeah, and
redo.
then-
And the post tension is just rebar that's been tensioned
Yeah.
and that way it's not gonna break loose. I mean,
But like
it'll-
our
it'll-
court service here is beautiful, except for the cracks. I mean, really, if cracks weren't there, even the surface that was done 6 years ago, they did a great job. But yeah, like, I didn't realize you'd do that in the winter. But yeah, we're willing to clean it up, and, cause there's a lot for the city to take care of, and we can pick up the weeds and all of that. And I don't know, but like, I don't live in the city, so I would be willing to even pay a fee, a club fee, but I don't even know if you could go that route. And I know a lot of other ladies said that they would, and there's quite a few men too that would maybe pay a fee just to help out with that kind of an expense.
So I went out there today with Randy Brown and looked at it, and we definitely need to get the cracks sealed. There's a company that's doing it in Alamosa as we speak that's doing some resurfacing and stuff. And Randy's supposed to send me the information. Is this the card?
That's the card.
That's the card.
Yeah,
So,
that's the card.
that
He was supposed to give that to you.
So I think what Rob said is, I think we can look at them as a stopgap measure to do that, and that also allows some time to go, and Heidi's gonna work on this, is getting the GOCO grant, George Colorado grant, see if it'd be nice if we could just completely resurface the thing, and then get all the new nettings and stuff like that. So Jaime will work on that, as well as he had a thing for the National Tennis Association or something.
just for.
And it looks like there's some, maybe some opportunities there for funding as well. So maybe we'll look at just doing a stopgap, get those cracks filled, and then we'll go forward. Because I agree, and it's beautiful. I've only played tennis twice in my life, and for some reason it's only twice. They're beautiful courts, and I know these ladies have been out there and doing some cleanup around it and stuff, so that's much appreciated because so obviously they're very vested in it. So I think we need to do our part to make sure that we can make it a nice facility for them to use, as well as anybody else that wants to use it. And we'll also take a look at that. You know, maybe a small fee to help maintain the cost of that and stuff. That's something we can look at, but preferably we don't have to go that route.
And ma'am, what was your name? I'm sorry.
Laura Brown.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, Randy's my other half.
You're the better half.
Thank you. Thank you. Could you put that down in the?
Yes. For sure.
Yeah, something?
Mr. Mayor, I'm Maureen Smith, for the record, and I want to say thank you very much. Those tennis courts are an asset to the community, and I also have noticed in the spring and in the fall when the school's in session, there is a few teachers that come out and play, and they've had some students coming out and playing. So I don't know if there's something in conjunction with the high school as far as the GOCO funding or anything like that that could be pooled together towards the ultimate goal. So, thank you.
Just curious, how much time will the sealing buy us, the crack sealing?
Crack sealing usually gives you between 1 year to 3 years. If we do it in the right way, and what I would propose, I've been doing a little research on it. For some of the wider cracks, you can use basically a concrete, like a floor set, do that first to kind of fill the gap with concrete, and then do the mastic, the colored stuff over the top of it, and get you a little more time. The concrete's a little more stiff, it's got a higher breakaway than just the mastic stuff, so I think if we did a combination of that, I think we could buy ourselves probably close to 3 years. And you gotta remember, if you go to GOCO, as competitive as GOCO is anymore, the chances of getting a grant off the first go around probably pretty slim, but usually the second or third, they've kind of told you what they're missing from the first round, and so you're able to kind of address those and get funding towards the second or third round that they do that. So GOCO's extremely, like I said, it's extremely competitive.
I have a question. What if you apply for the GOCO and do more than just the tennis court, maybe adding to the place? Is there a place to add it there or no?
There would be some room to add a little bit there. We have the park shop that's to the east, and then you have the access road to the golf course immediately to the west. So space is a little construed. I do believe we bought that piece of vacant land just south of the tennis courts. So it is a possibility that we could move the access road to the park shop south and then expand the courts south and maybe do more like or do some pickleball courts or something that's a little bit different.
If we combine something where we can do pickleball and tennis court.
It's still, like I said, you're still applying for the same GOCO grant. I mean, so it does, like I said, GOCO's just really competitive. It's a great source and it's absolutely fantastic, but it is extremely competitive anymore.
Is it the only grant out there that would cover something like this? I mean, there's thousands of grants.
It may not be the only one out there, but as far as a government agency, it is by far the most standard place to apply for outdoor recreational stuff. That's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the lottery funds, basically. So.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Go big, let's do an indoor court next to that.
There we go. That way we have 360 days. Okay.
Well, that's not a bad point though, if we
No,
ask for
it's
that
not.
much money.
They don't
And
do
we
it.
get a portion of
GOCO
it, then
doesn't
we got
do
what we
anything
want.
with a roof on it. So.
We'll work on that and report back to council.
Cool.
I'll have Jaime do the grant stuff, and then we'll contact this company too about the temporary fix of getting that.
Thank you.
Yes,
Wow.
thank you. Thank you.
That's great.
Perfect.
Thank you, Rob.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies. The Optimistics. Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Optimistics Main Street open for business.
Rob, can you hand me the
Take us a minute to set up.
Fellas, we'll need that. I think it was.
Trying to do the previous presentation.
Excuse me.
Is it trying to do the previous presentation?
A little bit.
So, to begin, I will say the Optimistics are back again.
Oh.
This, however, I believe, is going to be one of the single most important decisions that our city makes in a long period of time. And you'll see as we move forward what I'm talking about. Hey, I got 3 buttons and I got it. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the state of Colorado just released a grant that is called the Colorado Main Street Open for Business Grant. The Colorado Main Street Open for Business is offering $5.97 million, which is allocated by some government number there, to provide an incentive program for local business owners to improve the energy efficiency or the aesthetics of downtown commercial buildings.
what'll happen is it'll increase property values and visual appeal, as you can see, and we'll go through more of that. It'll increase sales and revenue because downtown will look better. The energy part we are not going to address at this particular point, mostly due to financial things, but it should, as business gets better, increase job retention, create more jobs. It'll have a ripple effect in investment. And as we move forward with our economic development director, the buildings and facilities will have a greater appeal for that person to be able to fill them, and to fill those empty businesses or empty. There we go. No, did I go? Okay. The following is eligible. I have to preface the whole thing by saying we as the Optimistics are prepared to do all of the paperwork. We're prepared to get, and you'll see permission slips and et cetera, so forth that we have to get in. And we're prepared to do that. We're prepared to present you with a finished packet. The catch there is that you as the municipality will have to submit it. It can't come from a private entity. It has to come from, as you can see, municipalities, counties, councils of government. You can then partner, once the grant is submitted or approved, you can then partner with us, the Optimistics, because we are a nonprofit 501c3. So we can technically manage the rest of the process, completing the project. You just have to submit it. So the grant entitles. We can also subcontract, which means we can hire a contractor, a general contractor, whatever, to assist us in putting that together. Application material posted online July this past last week actually. We moved relatively quickly, and we'll talk about some of the things we've already accomplished. The deadline for submission of the grant is August 23rd of this year, 3 weeks away, just 3 weeks away. Funds granted on merit. The only work completed and paid for by June 30th, 2022 will be reimbursed. Now that's misleading because DOLA has, and you'll see it on another slide here, DOLA has agreed to distribute the funds periodically through the project. So it's not necessarily a refund or a reimbursement program. You just apply for release of funds, and we'll go through that. There you go. Eligible expenses. This is why it fits perfectly with what we want to do. That's right. Engineering designs, building permits. Here's some of that right now. Removable non-historical false fronts. Probably not doing much of that because of the cost. Repair, replacement of windows, doors, cornices, facade materials, deterioration of wood, different things like that. New awnings, new canopies, permanent signage, exit lighting, which by the way we've already accomplished. You know, although you'll see here there's a little bit different touch to that. They can do even roof repair, which we're not going to get into either because we just don't. You'll see we just don't have that kind of capital to do. There we go. Important note: per DOLA, towns that have engaged in this revitalization typically see an increase of revenue in their downtown areas and their shops and that of 20 to 40% because it's visually appealing and people want to go there and want to see what's going on and shop. The only building in this project phrase that is on the historical registry, by the way, is the Facet building. So we do have to be very careful on what we do. If we do anything, it's in pretty good condition as it is now, but if we do anything on that particular building, and no changes can be made unless it complies with the Secretary of Interior standards. So, but if you look at that building, it's probably the better in shape, on that street. On behalf of the city of Monte Vista, the Optimistics are handling all the paperwork. The actual filing of the application, and we're collecting the businesses and the owners of the buildings must agree to the process. And so we have already collected a huge percentage of signatures. And all but one really are pretty much on board with it. So, Adams Street from 160 to 2nd Avenue right now, and 2 buildings on 160 are all on board with it. These documents will be submitted to the city for review and approval, and the city will have to file the grant, as I mentioned before. So we are, again, by the way, as I said before, we are on a very tight time constraint. We can't snooze. If we've got to get this to you, council, you have to read it over and submit it, and it's got to be in by the 23rd of August. So we need to move along quickly. And I don't know if you saw in your packet or not, if we had much in there, but there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork.
I have a question. It's a monthly rolling deadline, so is there also a deadline in September?
I didn't hear.
She said it's a monthly rolling deadline, so is there a deadline?
No, there is one deadline to get it in. And that is, there is a deadline to submit all of this to DOLA. And that is, the 23rd.
23rd.
After that, it goes for their review, and we're done until we hear from them.
But what does monthly rolling deadline mean?
I don't,
I don't remember hearing anything about a monthly rolling deadline.
I don't know, where did that say that?
I'm not sure how to answer that.
It was in a few previous screens.
Should I go back and
Well, I do, let me say this. It's 5.9 million. There are going to be hundreds of towns apply for it. And the deadline on the 23rd will guarantee us for sure one of the first looks at ours. So it is possible, I think, that you can submit it afterwards, but then you're on the bottom of 50, 80, 100 other cities that have applied for this grant. So good point. But we want to be on the front of this.
I see what's coming. It's rolling monthly grant cycles. The first deadline is August 23rd.
The first deadline, right.
And so if you're not in on the first deadline, if I understand what you're saying, you're going to
They give away the 5.9 million,
They
and
give
the
away
second
the
one is
5.9,
we
and
have nothing left.
There's nothing there.
Okay.
We have nothing left. So, and this is what I was talking about earlier, is the funding details. That DOLA may advance 50% upon execution of the grant agreement, and the remaining 50% when work is near completion. So that helps our contractors also and our workers, have some money to work with. A grant entitled can also advance payment or provide forgivable loans. We're not going to approach that at this time. Alternative grant entitles may bundle projects, which is exactly what we're doing. We're bundling all the buildings on Adams Street and 160 that we want to see done. So we're bundling those all together. Colorado Main Street and its partners will collaborate with other agencies and to leverage these funds. How it works. Applicant organizations can reach out to businesses and bundle the projects, which we're doing. Request consultation assistance, which we have already started that. Demonstrate outreach to underrepresented businesses. So basically what that means is we as the Optimistics are going to represent these folks and be their voice in this project and getting it done on Adams Street. So So their part of it is they sign off on it, they say, yes, we love the idea, and you guys go for it. And so that's their part of it. We collect and finalize the building business project details, photos, sketches, drawings. And you saw in your packet that we already have, or you saw some of them, we've already taken all the photos of all the buildings. We've already forwarded those to Spencer Architects, which have already done the renderings. We already have local vendors that have submitted bids, and I'll talk about that a little later in this. With the proposed work, you'll see a grid later on also that shows each building. We've evaluated each building. Some need a frame, some need an awning, some need paint, some need a window, some need, things like that. So you'll see on that grid the different levels of these buildings and what they're hopefully going to get in this program. Upon execution of the grant agreement, DOLA may advance 50% of the funds. That gets the guys started on the deal. I think maybe I skipped over it, I haven't got to it yet, but one of the main things is the project has to be done by July 2022.
It's in the next slide.
Okay, I'm jumping ahead then. It has to be done by July 2022, otherwise we have to return money. Now, I don't know about you, but if we get this money, I'm not returning any of it. So we need to work on that. There we go. Requirements of granted entities. Each one of the businesses or the building owner, depending on which one it is, are signing a 1099 or filling out a 1099. DOLA will issue the 1099 to them once we release to DOLA how much money was invested in those individual buildings. So the commitment or the in part of these businesses is that at the end of the year, they'll get a 1099 that says you owe some tax on $2,500, $3,000, $5,000, which is, minimal. That is their part of this whole project. So, and it's really nominal. And again, I said, 99% of the people have signed off on it. So. We will have to commit, and we can do this, or the city can do it, either one. You have to submit quarterly reports to DOLA so they can see where the funds are being spent, where the project is, et cetera, so forth. By January 2022, you have to demonstrate that the remainder of the funds will be spent and how they'll be spent. And don't worry about the rest because we're not returning anything.
Just more requirements.
Yeah, these are some requirements for a sub-grant. Estimated costs, timelines, qualified professionals, licensed contractors. And again, as we move forward, we have picked three, four people or 4 businesses in Monte Vista to do this project. So the money will go to our businesses and not outside of the city. So that's another really good point. The energy part we are not doing, although I remind you that we did change all the light bulbs to the downlights, which 80% of them are on now. But we did change those to dusk to dawn, whatever they're called, LED,
High efficiency LED.
high efficiency LEDs. So we are saving some energy there on that particular thing. Yeah. I guess I pointed that way. Anyway. Some important notes. The optimistics will not be earmarking any of the money for administrative costs. We're doing this out of the kindness of our heart, and we want to see the project done. All funds will go directly to the project. We have designated specific local business entities and engaged them in completing the project. painting, facade repair, awnings, manufacturing, hanging signs. Each has assured us that they will easily be able to complete the project by June 2022. The catcher here is the costs are being currently rebid because we put this together and started it last year during COVID, and as you all know, things have increased considerably. So we went back to our vendors and asked them to rebid so that they don't lose on the project. And so we're in the process of doing that. Some of the bids are already in. One of them we're waiting for. So it appears currently that there won't be any more than a 10 to 15% increase in what the original bid was. So. That's you.
Well, okay. Here's what we've done so far. All but one of the downtown businesses that we spoke with have indicated their absolute support, approval of the project. Of the 26 buildings in the entire project, most of them have already signed off on the project. We have the signed documentation, which we can provide for all of that. We're still in the process of collecting 3 or 4 signatures. Some of the actual building owners live outside of town. But again, everybody we've talked to is on board so far, albeit one person. We're working directly with other grant writers, other professionals, of course, too, who are assisting us to get all this done. Obviously, rendering's done courtesy of Spencer Architecture. There's a lot of people on board who are helping us to move all of this thing forward. The theater and the Blue Building right next to Sunflower Bank. It's our understanding that the theater and the Blue Building, 115 Adams, are owned by the city of Monte Vista. So it will be up to the city council to decide on whether you want to participate in this project or not. And of course, it will require somebody from the city to sign the acknowledgement paperwork for both buildings. And yes, at the end of the year, the city too would receive a 1099, which means you're responsible to report that on the city's tax at the end of the year. But for full disclosure, we want you to know that those are your buildings, so we're approaching you for that part tonight too.
If I can mention something there too, that there, you saw a stipulation earlier that the buildings that are vacant, the way they can, like the Blue Building, the way they can be a part of this program is if we can fill them and by June 2022. So, and the Blue Building, hopefully we will have that done. So it does qualify under the program to get a new front.
As I mentioned, several people working with us behind the scenes. Kathy Woods from Alamosa, Mrs. Spencer Architecture, been wonderful to work with. Christy Doon, who works with Dolet and Creed, myself and Ken, and one of our new optimistic members, Leslie and Kuzmi, are all helping us. And there are other people too, but these are some of the bigger names that have said, look, let us know what we can do to help you move this along. An obvious view of some of the downtown buildings right now. And again, we're going to leave these up throughout the end of tonight so you can come and look for yourselves. Spencer's come up with a way to do all of this. They even came up with, I'll show you, particular palette colors. And their thinking on the palette colors is to reflect the historic downtown area. Now, we're not 100% set on these, but obviously, this is what these people do for a living. They have a feeling and an idea for this, and we think their suggestions on the colors are really, really good.
They did do a little research in the late 1800s, some of the colors being used for the buildings and that. So these are what they came up with for that. And if you take a look at this, I'll just 1 minute. This is the computer building, all the way to the Blue Building here, right? These are on second to third, so those are right now not in the equation. Facet building, obviously, all the way to the X Curiosities, and then down here to V&V and Rainbow.
Mm-hmm. And those last two were up on 160.
And these are the two on 160, which is Doug Thomas and the fish shop.
Okay. Again, as I mentioned, we do have a layout of needs of each particular building. and what we believe is best for the particular buildings to bring them up to what we're going to accomplish. That's the 100 block of Adams Street, east and west side. We are again looking at the 200 block and Highway 160 as well as part of this particular phase of the project that we're working on. What are we doing here? Okay. Now, this is a matching grant program. It is an 80-20 matching grant program. We as the Optimistics, of course, have the $5,000 that the city has wonderfully granted us. But we really want to go further with this, and that is part of why we're here to the city tonight to talk about this.
So, well, as you can see on that previous one, whatever contribution we put in, it's a 20% match.
Right.
So we are, with the bids that we currently have, and I'll go through this now. So in conclusion, it's a wonderful opportunity to give a huge percentage of our downtown commercial district a much needed fresh look. Current bids are about $70,180. And keep in mind that we did on that grid, some only need this, some only need that, some only need this. So it's not a total redo across the board. And so that's where the 70,000 comes in. So that would complete, the 70,000 would complete the from I-170 to 2nd Street, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then the two buildings on 160 that are most in need. With a $20,000 match, which was 5 from us, 15 from the city, DOLA would give us $80,000, which would give us our $100,000 to work with. Gives us some contingency money in there as things go up, or a paintbrush goes through a piece of board and now we have to change that board, those kind of things that come up. However, as mentioned, the project is being rebid because of COVID increases, so we're waiting for those. Adjustments may need to be made in the project to stay within that $100,000 mark. We are working on a very short, we're working on a very short timeline, as I mentioned. So we want to get this grant filed with DOLA as quickly as possible before the 23rd. The Optimistics, again, will do the majority of the paperwork, we'll do the majority of the footwork. We'll submit it to you for approval and your submission to DOLA. In order to proceed, the Optimistics are prepared to put in our $5,000 that the city committed from DCI toward the project, and we respectfully request that the city put in $15,000 for the project, totaling 20, which gives us a grant of 80, which brings us to the $100,000. As you can see on the grid in the previous slides, the less matching funds, the less we can do. The more matching funds, the more we can do. So, certainly we're asking for 15, 40 and 50 would be great. 20 or 30 would be great.
I think it's important to note too, we talked earlier about the 20-40% increase in revenue once the project's completed. To me, that was huge, and I got curious, what does that actually mean? What would that roughly mean to the city of Monte Vista? So I went digging and found that the state net taxable sales for Monte Vista for the first 5 months of this year averaged around $4.097 million. That's the taxable income that was generated. From that, of course, 3% goes to the city. That's around $122 or almost $123,000 that the city of Monte Vista took in. Now, obviously, not all of the businesses are going to see this 10 to 20% increase. So, but there's going to be spillover. If your downtown is revitalized, it's hopping. Your hotels are going to see more business. Your restaurants are going to see more business. So let's just say only a fifth of those funds actually see an increase immediately. So that $122,009, you're talking around $25,000. A 20% increase on that is another $5,000. or 60,000 a year. A 40% increase, now you're looking at you're looking at an increase of about 10,000 per month, or 120,000 additional per year that the city would see in revenue income. So to me, obviously, anything that the city invests is going to come back rather quickly. And again, there's a very tight timeline to get all of this done. We've got to move quick to get it submitted. Once the grant is given, we've got to move fast to get it done, and it's our intent to do so. As Ken mentioned, we talk with these people we're working with. They're ready to get started immediately. So, thank you for letting us present this. We think it's a fascinating opportunity, and obviously we're still learning about grant processes, and welcome any questions you might have at this time.
Ask questions? So somebody who's lived here longer, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, wasn't this exact thing done about 15 years ago? At least for the awnings, for sure. Is there any way you can put a stipulation in there that the building owners have to do a certain level of maintenance? Now, obviously, awnings in the weather are awnings in the weather, and they can't stay 100% for 20 years. But knock on wood, it doesn't happen, but another economic downturn happens, a couple people sell their buildings to people who live out of town who don't really care what they look like, you kinda end up in the same position again. Is there a way to put a stipulation on the building owners, to keep the work that's done in a certain condition?
I don't know if we can answer that, but I do know it's not contained in this particular grant. I think there would have to be a separate discussion on, code and variances of code, et cetera, so forth. If we do set the code and said this is what the building's supposed to look like, then we do have a compliance officer to go by and say, what are you doing? So it could be maintained, but that's a whole other discussion.
It is, but it's a really interesting question. The problem is, at the end of the day, a lot of these business owners are looking, do I eat? Do I fix my awning? And it's gone through a really rough year. A lot of them are struggling still to stay afloat. So if we can help them with this, we think it's a good thing, but no, it's a very valid question to look at for the future.
Other questions? So we leave it with council. We would love to get a decision on the amount so that we can move forward with all the paperwork and meet our deadlines.
Is this something that we're gonna
Yeah, you'll need to do a,
workshop?
you need to do a motion.
So basically what you're asking us for is an additional 15,000 tonight?
Correct.
Yes.
And that's
Correct.
in matching.
Our
funds.
5,000 from DCI,
Right.
right, that you guys have committed to the optimistics, and an additional 15, which will get a DOLA grant of 80, so we'll have $100,000 in for this project.
And you projected anywhere from 60 to 120,000 per year increased sales tax revenue.
There's a very rough figure,
based on
yes,
based on what has happened in other
yes.
counties that have done this.
Those
Okay.
were Dola's numbers in the original presentation they gave us, and it should have been in your packets, councilors. They project a 20 to 40% increase in towns that have done this very thing.
Okay. Is there any reason that we would not want to do this? I mean, this looks really good.
Anything to revitalize our downtown, it's, it's taking a hit.
And they're offering to do all the paperwork, so it's not gonna
Is there
not gonna
anything?
tie up.
Well, you'll have some to do when you go to submit,
Right.
but
I think
we're gonna hand you most of it.
We'll have to work closely with them to make sure that we manage the grant correctly and that everything's accounted for and, proper, documentation for the grant.
Now, the city's not committed unless they get the grant, right?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
It is an application process.
Okay.
And I want to add too, this is, we have presented to council before, phase one. Our intent is to continue onward. Once we get the downtown area done, this 100 block of Adams Street, we had to take a bite that we could chew and manage. And this is why we chose that particular area to start. Phase two includes the 160 corridors coming in. And once this project is done, other grant organizations will see what's happened and they'll go, our city's involved? We have a nonprofit running this thing and they're making things happen. There are other organizations that are involved. They're more likely to be willing to help us with these further grants going out. But by doing this with the city, it puts you at the core of all of this too. You were one of the original groups that saw what we were doing and believed in where we're going with this.
Well,
Alright,
you would need a motion.
you need to? What are you gonna, what are we doing?
Well, you make a motion before we discuss it.
That's all I'm discussing, is what we're gonna be doing.
Well, we either do that or we push it down into, I was looking to see if it's more appropriate to push into a different section. Whether or not we need to put it in a different section or whether we need to discuss that now. Is there a protocol on that? Do we discuss this now or do we need to push this into a
You
different
can
section?
discuss it now and make a decision now. You would just need to make a motion before discussing it any further.
Right. Okay. Rock, paper, scissors? No. I will make a motion that we propose we grant $15,000 for this grant. Allocate $15,000 for the grant, as proposed by the Optimistics.
I'll second that.
Now we can discuss it. You've kind of addressed it already, my concern. I appreciate you guys with what you do and everything that you've brought up. You've addressed it a little bit. My concern is that we are putting all our efforts into the 100 block of Adams Street, where the 200 block of Adams Street looks like East St. Louis. I also would like to see more effort put into the 160 area between basically the Shell Station and Dairy Queen, because more people travel that than ever will go down our town, down to the 100 block of Adams Street.
There's two of them.
Well, yeah, there's two of however many.
We looked at that section, Counselor, and you're right. The section between Adams and the Chamber or the Shell Station itself looks in good shape. Coming out of the direction, this is why we picked up Don Tomas in the adjacent building to start that work on 160. But we agree, phase two is keep going down 160. So absolutely agree that area needs to be addressed too, yes.
I will mention that if the city is willing to put in more money, the grant goes higher, and then we can throw in second to third, and maybe a building or two on on 160. But right now with the 15,000 in R5, it's $100,000 we have to spend on, so it's only going to go so far.
So if there's.
But we do have phase two and phase three of the whole
If there's
thing.
extra money, I mean, you've got like 70,000 committed right now, basically for the businesses that are signed up. Is that right, like 70,000? So if there's extra, you can do a couple more businesses down on.
Yeah, currently the city. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We were discussing it earlier this evening. What do we do? If we're able to complete the entire Adams Street part, the 100 block, and there are extra funds, then we look at that 200 block. That's the first thing we would do.
Or could that be changed to look at exactly what Councilor Foster's talking about?
Sure.
To more, impact 160?
Yes. Absolutely. And we want to do this with the city council's blessing. We want to do this with the city council. Again, we're doing all the legwork and paperwork. At the end of the day, if you feel our efforts would be better somewhere, focusing more on 160 or the 200 block, we're absolutely open to that.
Yeah, that's kind of my statement, is that the 100 block is, relatively speaking, in much better shape than, say, the 200 block. And I think, also the 100 block is probably in debatable better shape than parts of the, you know, 160 through that area. And that's, as I said, I think that's my concern, is that we keep putting all our attention in that one area, and in maybe that is our plan, that we get this area looking really good, or do we get this, you know, the other areas up to the equivalent of where the 100 block is. And as I said, that's what I see.
Sure. Counselor, keep in mind that there are more vacant buildings on the second to third.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've got a couple businesses going in, which is great, but, you know, there are more vacant buildings there, so it may behoove us to put that on the second phase. So when we have the economic development person that we'll be working with, hopefully, really close together, we have somebody to fill those stores in that period of time when we redo them. You know, so, because there is a time frame with the two that are vacant on first to second, to have somebody in there if we're going to put them in the program.
So how does it work if the building is half occupied?
Half occupied? It's
Right.
occupied.
Well, no, I'm talking about H&R Block. Okay, on the 200 block Adams Street. You've got a building that's half occupied. 212 is at vacant, H&R Block is not. And that building is missing bricks on the front, had an awning that pulled off in that wet snow in September. And it's atrocious.
And I understand the new owner's addressing that.
Okay, but you know, I'm just saying that fits into what you're talking about. How does it apply if the building does? I mean, do you can only like do half of it?
If it's a single building and that owner owns it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and there's no business in the one, you know, it could fall under the program. It would just have to, in the other side, there would have to be a business there by the end of the June 2022.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah. So we would have to find somebody to go in there on that other side there in June, before June.
Mm-hmm.
But it is one building, so it could qualify, it could be in there. But again, I understand the new owner's addressing that, so, you know, it'd be nice if that person spent the money, not us. I'm just saying.
We do understand there's some
Yes.
revitalization going on privately
Yes.
on the 200 block. We expect it over the next several months, and we're watching that too.
I think my opinion is as to why start in one place and then move to another is because if you don't do the first block of Adams Street, which is where they're focusing on now, if you don't get it finished, you just do it about get it up to a certain level, and then you go to another part and you get up to a certain level. Now we've raised two parts halfway. Let's go ahead and get one part finished and then raise the other part completely. That's just my opinion. Trying to phrase this without using a phrase I shouldn't use. I don't want things done halfway.
There's other grant money available from the U.S. Department of Commerce, from the Colorado Historic Preservation Division. So
Mhm.
that money can supplement the Main Street effort. And if you get the Main Street money, like the gentleman said, it'll make the city more attractive to get other funding. So it can be a full project, and this could be the start of a fuller project.
Well, there are more and more grants coming out all the time. This shows that the business owners and or the building owners are willing to pay the taxes on it, just skin in the game. I think we've already seen community support is into what the optimistics are doing. As this goes along, the grants will become easier to get, I believe. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, so I'm guessing. But I believe that the more that we do, the more grantors and funders will be willing to help us do.
See, you're doing something, so they're like, oh, maybe I'll help them.
Mm-hmm.
I ran across a spreadsheet a couple days ago with probably 50 or 60 other grants on there. Now, a lot of them don't apply specifically to us, but we're in the process of weeding through that list too to go, okay, what does apply? What can we do? What has a reasonable, turnaround time as well? Obviously, this one's very quick. And as you know, we have the car show and beer fest coming up in 2 weeks, so our hands are, we're juggling a lot of balls right now, keeping things moving. But we do want to look at other grants. We do want to talk to other grant organizations, absolutely, and see what else is available and keep moving forward.
And we partnered with DCI, and they have a plethora of information, and they are sharing on a regular basis what's available, what's coming up, and et cetera, so forth. So this is one that actually they talked about, to get on board as soon as it was released. So, and I'm sure they'll keep us informed of some other ones that come out. But if they do see us putting this much skin in the game and doing something, it'll be easier next time to get approval for anticipation. I don't know. I've never done this before either. But I'm thinking that they'll look at it and go, wow, these guys are serious. Let's give them more money.
Anybody else
Are we ready to vote or?
Anybody else got anything to bring up? Nita?
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Foster,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Aye.
Motion carries to allocate $15,000 to help with the Colorado Main Street Grant Program with the Optimistics.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. We're excited.
Thank you for leaving the renderings up. I'd like to look at those.
Hey Kevin, will you guys get with me first thing Monday so we can figure out what we need to do to get the paperwork done?
Absolutely. And Council, we do have PDF copies if you would like those, where you can really zoom in and see everything on your computer. If you'd like, I'll email those to Nita so she can get those to you.
Sure.
So you can actually really zoom in and see things. Spencer's been wonderful to work with on this, I have to say.
Isn't Spencer also the architect for the Sky High?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Very same people.
Spencer's being.
And by the way,
very good to us.
this was his contribution. We did not pay for this. This was his contribution to the project. So there's a lot of people with skin in the game.
While they have an office in Alamosa, they live here in Monte Vista.
Cool.
They are residents here.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Kaboom grant.
You wanna do it, Brian?
No. It's all yours. Try to do this real quick, just kind of give you an update. If you guys remember, back in October of last year, we applied for a Kaboom grant, and this is for the replacement of the old playground at Sanchez Park, and we actually got awarded the grant. We are moving forward with the next steps, and just like I say, just want to kind of touch bases with the council, let you guys know where we are in this process. We are in the design process right now, and I'm gonna pass over here a couple of flyers that I got from Kaboom with some information, and I will post this out there too for anybody that wants to take some home. So the grant again is to replace the playground at Sanchez Park, which is one of the oldest parks here in the city. And my understanding is every year we get dinged with our insurance CIRSA because of the park. So it's a big step to make some changes in the park. I think that, I guess what I want to say is the agreement was that the city was gonna come up with a matching money with $8,500 towards the grant, and then Kaboom and the Colorado Health Foundation was going to do the rest for the playground. Last Monday, Nika, we had a Zoom meeting with Kids Connection and Kaboom, and they kind of pretty much just put their input of what they would like to see at the park. They come out with ideas. They have some plans and some drawings that they're gonna look into it. And then in August 10th, we're gonna have a community design workshop here in the city, so anybody that wants to get involved in that design is welcome. We're gonna be here at 6 o'clock. And then we're also gonna be needing a lot of volunteers, so anybody for the building project, that will take place October 18th and through the 20th, so it'll be 3-day building. I've been working close with Robert and Anika to get this grant and because they're gonna be involved a lot in they're gonna be helping us moving the old playground, so we're working together to get all this done. So I think, out of all the grants that I applied, I got one, and one of the most important ones, so I'm happy to move forward and let's get this done. You guys have any questions for me?
I'm excited for it though.
I am excited too. I think we all are. Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Where is Sanchezburg?
It's Larry.
Down there, yeah. Okay, we're here to discuss a little bit more about, so I believe Forrest, and I talked to the mayor this morning about this, there had been discussion about, the city coming up with 50,000 towards the Sky High project, and 35,000 was for the kitchen and 15 for the, ticket booth. There was I believe Forrest had sent you guys a memo on this, he said he had sent you guys a memo on it, that the city was committing 50,000 towards this, and talked to Dale and he remembers it. So really all it's tonight is just getting the motion from you guys to commit the 50,000. It's already been accounted for, my understanding is, so we just need the official commitment that yes, the city's gonna commit 50,000 to the Sky project to finish the, is that right? Kitchen?
The changes in the kitchen and the changes in the ticket booth.
Yeah.
And that's already in the budget, you said.
Yeah, it's, it's accounted for, so we just have to,
Motion for it.
yeah, we we wanted to bring it for you guys, so there's official motion on the table.
And it's just a matter of trying to be a little more transparent.
Right. That's
We
why.
wanna make sure there's transparency, cause it's been approved, the changes have already taken place over at Sky High. Finance is aware that it's in the budget, it will be coming to you as a greater, budget amendment towards the end of the year. But like I said, it's already there, we're just trying to make sure that we're 100% transparent in what's going on out there for council,
Right.
for everybody involved.
It was just done in a memo, so we thought the more appropriate way was to bring it before council and,
Get a formal
get a
motion.
formal motion on it. I think that's a better way to do this. Just,
We would agree.
you would agree? I would hope so.
So we need a motion to approve $50,000,
To
$50,000
address changes in the kitchen.
for the
and ticket
changes in the
booth.
kitchen
In the ticket booth area.
and the ticket booth for the Sky High project.
Correct. If you wanna break
I
it
think
down.
I just made that motion.
Second.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Nita?
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola?
Aye.
Motion carries to approve $50,000 for the Sky High project, 35 going to the kitchen, and 15,000 on the ticket booth.
Thank you. And just cause Jaime played this down a little bit, Kaboom grants are probably one of the harder grants to get in the nation. So huge kudos to what he's been able to accomplish there. A Kaboom grant is a true community involvement grant. They fully expect volunteers from the community to actually install the playground. So there will be a lot of public involvement. And you have to remember, they talk with the community, they talk with the kids, and they help with us design a playground system that try to meet everybody's needs. And then the Lariat subdivision, it is our oldest playground. It is, for those of you who will, I'll age myself, that remember playing on the metal jungle gyms and seesaws and things of that nature, that's what's at Sanchez. not like what you see out here at Chapman. These are the old ones that if you fall off of, you're getting a couple of brain noggins and some bruises. So very good. Good job. Thanks, Ron.
Here's some comments.
I have some pictures and stuff. That park over there gets pretty slammed with kids. So, citizen comments. City Council welcomes your unscheduled comments. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and council will not take action at the same meeting. Okay, Mariana King, or go ahead. Can you just sign your name for us, please?
My name is Jim Clare, Monte Vista, and to go back into history, one of the first people that did anything out at Larry, that was Reverend Earl Aarons. So I don't know if anybody's in here old enough to remember, but as back when he first came here and moved out there and lived there and did a lot of work for the community out there, and that's where a lot of that got started. So a little bit of history real quick. One of the things I want to bring up, a little bit of a safety item, and that is, most of you know the little dead-end street that comes up to the railroad station depot that's on the east side of the Shell station. We've noticed this several times, but we noticed it again during the lineup for the parade. Every once in a while somebody comes in there with a big travel trailer, and they get in there and there's no signage. It says no trailers, no dead end, no turnaround, no outlet or nothing. So consequently they're having to back up these fifth wheel trailers into oncoming traffic to get back out and get going again. So I think it'd behoove somebody to try and get some signage out there, get an awareness before those people do pull in there and get themselves into a predicament. I know I brought this up with a councilman several times in the past, and so far I don't think we've seen any action. So I think we need to look at this and see if we can get something done. The other item I wanted to bring up real quick is we had our Rocky Mountain Ag Conference meeting again this morning with the chamber, and we're getting close to sending out registrations for the Ag Conference, and one of our concerns is the fee for the use of Sky High Park building. So we would greatly be pleased when council and whoever works on that project to come up with a fee structure that's going to be used for that Sky facility, to let us know as soon as possible, because we need to get that in our registration. That may change our booth fees, stuff like that. So definitely, if you get something along that line as soon as possible, please get back to the Chamber of Commerce Rocky Mountain Ag Conference. We'd appreciate it. And that's all I have. Thank you.
I can address part of that real quick. We're working on a contract for the new Sky High, as well as scheduling fee. Heidi's actually probably fairly close to having that done, that will bring the council to final approval. So we've been working on that contract and everything, what that's gonna look like.
Sounds good. One of the things is they wanted me to bring it up tonight, so possibly the 19th, meeting on the 19th, if there's gonna be anything by then to.
From 19th
of this coming of August.
2 weeks.
Council meeting.
The 19th is the next council meeting.
Okay. Well, we'll try and have that contract, or the contract and the pricing guide pretty much worked out by then.
Thank you.
We've got some good examples that we've been working with.
Are there anybody else with the citizen comments? Okay.
My name is Mariana King. I live at 219 Dunham. Last time I attended city council, A man was given 8 minutes to respond during citizens' response time, so I'm requesting 8 minutes also. I'm following up my previous 2 presentations about hazards associated with communication towers and the fact that the city of Monte Vista, with a population of 5,000 people, has 6 of these towers. I requested to be on the agenda but was refused. This is the second time the city refused to put me on the agenda. Has anyone in the city looked at the research I gave you? Has anyone looked at the book I left with you twice, 2 copies? Has there been any discussion about a citizens task force to look into health and safety and economic and ecological problems posed by communication towers? Last time, Mr. Becker made reference to a Valley Courier article that denied any problems with communication towers. Note that the presenter was hired and paid by the industry to make that presentation. I'm making this presentation as a concerned citizen and not as a spokesperson for the communication tower industry. At that time, I commented to Mr. Becker that the presenter did not consider the research of Physicians for Safe Technology, which is comprised of over 5,000 doctors who warn about the health hazards of communication towers. And you have a communication tower probably 30 yards from City Council, from City Hall, which poses a threat to the health and safety of city employees. This is my 3rd request for the city to form a citizens task force to investigate the ecological, environmental, and health and safety hazards of communication towers. I gave you information about other cities and related city ordinances. This is the 4th time I'm making information available to you to begin the research process. I have an article here about how cell towers collapse, especially in high wind areas such as the valley. I have another article about European standards of radiation emissions, which is much more stringent than US standards. US standards have been called into question by professional groups across the country. I have this article which I would like to give to the city manager, and I will drop off the article about European standards of exposure tomorrow to the city manager. I related to you that city staff and Monte Vista residents are at risk, especially the staff. And the residents are at risk because Monte Vista has 6 communication towers for a town of 5,000 people.
So we're gonna go ahead and
This is overkill. I do not use that term lightly. The city is being grossly irresponsible by not responding to these serious and even life-threatening issues. I again ask the City Council to form a citizens task force to research the problem and to make recommendations for action. Please notify me about your decision. Ms. Vance has my email address because of my numerous requests to be on the agenda. I look forward to your response.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? No, because you haven't done the research. You haven't looked at the resources or the research that I left you. Now, this is the 4th time. Always 4 different kinds of problems that communication towers present. So I'm asking you to do your job, be responsible, protect city staff, and protect the residents of the city of Monte Vista. Please.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala, may I respond?
Yes. Oh, we actually will respond at the meeting.
Okay.
Do we have anybody else for citizen comments?
Flowers in town are beautiful.
Can you please put
She's
your name
not
on
here
the
to
thing?
comment, so I just wanted to.
All right. Resolutions.
Good evening, Council. So tonight before you is resolution 2021-13, resolution amending signatory authority on checks and other related instruments for the city of Monte Vista. So we've had a lot of change in staff. So we're asking for, at the last council meeting, you guys approved to remove the ex-city manager, Forrest Newberg, and the ex-finance director, Jennifer Sines. So that was done. We've recently hired an interim finance director, Anita Kinsey, and Diana Smith, who is our AP accountant clerk. So we're asking for authorization for access for Anita Kinsey to be the administrator of the bank accounts, and for Diana Smith to have view-only access to those accounts. And then myself, Mayor Becker, and Mayor Pro Tem Segola would still be the signatures on the bank accounts. Those accounts are with Sunflower Bank, RG Bank, San Luis Valley Federal Bank, Colo Trust, and RG Bank Sky High account.
Motion to approve resolution 2021-13, amending signatory authority on checks and other related instruments for the city of Monte Vista, Colorado.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions?
Okay, Rob, do you want to do the lead?
I'll do it.
Roll call.
Oh,
Councilor
sorry. Counselor Locke.
Aye again.
Counselor Foster.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve resolution 2021-14.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Completely off guard.
Sorry.
You're in the headlights like.
I just you just approved it. Okay. Do you want to do the weed one?
That's my next one. So, good evening again. So tonight I'm presenting a plan that has been in the works for a while, and it is the Monte Vista noxious weed management plan. I won't go into detail unless council wants me to go into detail, but basically the plan follows Colorado revised statutes pursuant to Article 5.5 of Title 35, the Colorado Noxious Weed Act, and it basically the plan lays out that we as a city are going to try to eradicate the noxious weeds that we have within our city limits. It also extends to private property, and Jim Craig's here, and I believe you're still on the weed board, but it also will help Rio Grande County as far as being able to apply for grants. It also gives them the ability, once this is adopted and they have a copy of it, that they can go on some of our private properties and help our citizens try to eradicate some of the weeds and stuff that are growing on their properties. So overall, the plan will actually address and try to help us have a more beautiful community and get rid of the weeds that have been deemed by the state noxious and not desirable. I would, point out like everybody's gotta love goat heads, and there's a lot of that going on. Those are some of the weeds that are noxious. Another common term is white top. You see a lot of white top running around town and stuff, and try to get those eradicated and taken care of. So the resolution that's in front of you is 2021-14, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Monte Vista adopting the Monte Vista's Noxious Weed Management Plan, whereas pursuant to Article 5.5 of Title 35 Colorado Revised Statutes, the Colorado Noxious Weed Act, as amended, the City of Monte Vista hereby desires to maintain compliance and has instructed staff to develop a noxious weed management plan for the properties within the city limits of Monte Vista, and whereas the City Council has reviewed the Monte Vista Noxious Weed Management Plan, and whereas City Council finds that the presented plan meets the requirements of the Colorado Noxious Weed Act And now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Monte Vista, one, deems it necessary to actively address noxious weed infestations within the city limits of Monte Vista, and two, the presented Monte Vista noxious weed management plan addresses remediation of noxious weeds throughout the city and allows cooperative efforts with Rio Grande County. And three, the Monte Vista City Council does hereby adopt the Monte Vista noxious weed management plan and done and signed this 5th day of August 2021. So if council's in agreement, I do need a motion to adopt resolution 2021-14.
I'd move to adopt resolution 2021-14 Monte Vista Weed Plan.
Thank you.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there questions?
Counselor Long.
Aye.
Counselor Foster.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve resolution 2021-14.
Turn that back over to you now.
Just a quick point of clarification, make sure you refer to it as noxious weed.
I just read it straight off of here, that's all I did.
10 years ago, we didn't have to worry about that, but now.
We don't want the other type of weed.
Yeah, noxious weeds.
Council, before you is resolution number 2021-15. It's that time of the year where the election is rolling around, and City of Monte Vista does coordinated elections with the Rio Grande County Clerk and Recorder's Office. So, resolution for coordinated election for the City of Monte Vista, whereas the provisions of Charter of the City of Monte Vista, Colorado provide in section 8 that the provisions of state law shall govern all municipal elections, and whereas such reference to the state law pertains to the provisions of the Colorado Municipal Election Code as contained in Article 10 of Title 31 of the Colorado Revised Statutes. And whereas the provisions of House Bill 93-1255 became effective on July 1st, 1993, and provides for coordinated elections for political subdivisions of the state and municipalities within the same electors and conducting elections on the same day in November as coordinated by the county clerk and recorder pursuant to intergovernmental agreement. And whereas House Bill 93-1063 became effective on July 1st, 1993, and allowed municipalities to provide by resolution that will utilize the regulations and procedures of Uniform Election Code of 1992 concerning coordinated elections rather than Colorado Municipal Election Code of 1965. And whereas it is the desire of the municipality to utilize the Uniform Election Code of 1992, providing for coordinated elections. Now therefore, it hereby be resolved by the City Council of the City of Monte Vista that 1, the City of Monte Vista, Colorado shall utilize the regulations and procedures of Uniform Election Code of 1992, providing for coordinated election in lieu of Colorado Municipal Election Code of 1965, with respect to the November 2nd, 2021 municipal election. 2, that said municipal election shall be coordinated with the county clerk and recorder by municipal clerk of the City of Monte Vista, and that the appropriate intergovernmental agreements shall be developed between Rio Grande County and the City of Monte Vista concerning coordinated elections in accordance with the provisions of House Bill 93-1255. I do have that intergovernmental agreement that the county clerk sent over. The intergovernmental agreement just states that I would be the coordinated election response person and in communication with the county. We do have 3 seats open on our city council, the mayor and 2 council members, so those would go up for on the election on November 2nd.
Motion to approve resolution number 2021-15, a resolution for coordinated elections for the City of Monte Vista.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there questions? Nita?
Councilor Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Counselor Locke? Mayor Pro Tem Segola?
Aye.
Motion carries to approve resolution 2021-15 for coordinated election for November 2nd, 2021.
Awesome. All right, looks like we're gonna jump down to staff proposals, reports, and actions.
Good evening, council, again. All right, some quick interim city manager updates. First off, finance, we've got Debbie Phillips in here helping Anita, and they're really getting everything caught up. So that's looking really good. Probably another week they'll have everything caught up with finance, so we'll have that. Sky High project is moving along really well. It's working really well. Robin is working directly with Carla and Elcon, and that's just plucking along right along here, and it's going pretty well. I don't think there's really any major updates for Sky High. Carla or Robbie, the one you got any input on that, but nothing really. It's going good. Fair is this week, so we got a temporary certificate of occupancy for fair. I think they start setting up tomorrow actually, so that'll run through next Saturday. Yeah, but we did get the occupancy for that, so we're good to go there. Any questions on anything on Sky High? Again, that's like I said, that's going pretty quickly. There's really no significant updates at this point. The event center manager, I did get a preliminary job description this afternoon from Bob Gill, our HR director. So I'll go over that on Monday, and we'll do some fine tuning on that, and I'm hoping to get that posted by the end of next week so that we can move forward on hiring an event center manager. One of the other things that we're looking at doing is, as I told you earlier, Jaime's working on the contract for Sky High and the pricing and all that. There's a couple that we've looked at. Douglas County has, if you get a chance to look at Douglas County's, I really like their fee structures because it really gives like local community a much reduced rate for use of that, as it should be. I mean, because we have a lot of this was built by the community. It was built by citizens and community groups and that. So in my opinion, they need to have a reduced rate for using that. The Douglas County one is a great example of it, and just the way they managed that. So he'll have that done. We should have that before council on the 15th, right, Jaime?
Yes, sir.
Along with the event center manager, we're just going to get that posted. But along that, one of the things we're looking at doing with everything Sky High related, because just to manage that, I'm gonna ask IT to on our city website to put everything that they need, including a public facing calendar, so that if you're going to book an event, you can look and see what dates are available and stuff like that. Obviously, we'll make sure that the ones that we have every year that we know are coming through, like Sky High or like Stampede and Crane Festival, and all of them are always there. And then the other dates will be open, and then all the paperwork and everything that you need to do that will be on there. So I'm hoping to get that done before we have the building done, so that we can start getting stuff booked. Other than that, everything else, I think we're pretty much at full staff across the, Rob, I think everybody, Anika might have an opening, right? But I think other than that, we're pretty much at full staff. We'll see. I know you guys have, I guess that'll be up to you guys on the city manager position, and I know that's moving forward rather quickly. So hopefully, I'm only going to be standing up here doing this part of this like another couple of weeks with you guys. I hope. So I can get back doing the cop stuff.
Oh, come on. Don't you enjoy it?
Haven't you loved doing this?
Yeah, I prefer to be a cop. With that, any questions on anything?
No.
What is our proposed completion date of Sky High? I realize that we're getting temporary certificates for the event center, but do we have anything yet?
I think we're still looking at October. I think I know we had a meeting with Elcon on
The end of October.
yeah, towards the end of October, but every indication is it'll be done in October. Hopefully, sometime in October. Might be towards the end. We're hoping for the middle, but October is definitely the goal to be done. They're obviously it's not that big of a slowdown to them, but having like Stampede and stuff like that, you know, that takes a week or so out of their schedule and stuff. But they're still. I think that was all along the plan, was to be done in October, and they still plan on being done in October.
Okay, thank you.
And then at some point there, we're gonna have to start having a discussion about having an open house, you know, as the city and friends of Sky High and that, having an open house and stuff. So, but that's a little bit down the road, but something to start thinking about, cause we're getting close.
Yeah.
Anything else on it? Nothing else? Alright,
Good job.
thank you.
You answered the only question I had written down, so.
Have you rescheduled a national night out yet?
We haven't, because of just for schedules and stuff. It's
Okay.
kinda crazy. Okay.
Thank you.
Mom of Monte Vista.
So Kids Connection finished our summer program today. Today was our official last day of the summer, and I'm so excited. Summer was fun, but it was a lot of work. It was really hot and tiring. Those 10-hour days fly by though, so that was a nice thing. I got to rub it in all of my teacher friends' faces, like, we go to after school, now their full-time job kicks in. They're not super excited, but I think they're ready to get the school year going. Like Chief had mentioned, we do have a position open. One of my year-round staff members just took a position with another program in Alamosa because it's closer to home and it's on campus, so she can go to school and complete her degree. So she's gonna go ahead and move there. We're really sad. So we have a position open. I have the two summer staff that we hired. Their last day was today, hoping to get a letter of intent from one of them for interest in the position we have open, but that is yet to be seen. Let's see. The Kaboom grant with Jaime, we did a kids meeting. My kids were so excited to learn about what was going on, and to be able to put their input in on what kind of equipment they want to see at the playground. They came up with some really cool designs, so they got to design their own playground with stuff that they want to see in it. And so the representative for Kaboom will be here next week, and she'll take a look at those and take all of their design work into consideration when designing the playground, so that in the end we have something that was like designed by the kids and the community. It's really exciting to see what they could potentially put in there. If you go on their website, you'll see any of the playgrounds that they've done. Like Alamosa has a couple of Kaboom playgrounds, and the kids that designed them, a lot of the aspects that they designed were put into the playground. So it's really exciting. The kids are super pumped about.
Which parks are those?
So the one at the Boys and Girls Club and the one at Lee Field? It's called Lee Field back there. Colton, is it Colton? Colton's Heroes, their playground back there. They even have a tiny little ballpark. It's adorable. But those were all, you can look at the drawings that the kids put together, and they show some examples on their website, so it's really exciting to let the kids have their input. This next week, Kids Connection's closed for kids, but staff will be in there disinfecting and moving the facility around to get ready for after school. We intend to have all 3 rooms open. We're going to break it up into kindergarten first, second, third, fourth, and older. So we have 3 rooms of like 2 grades apiece. We don't have very many middle schoolers. We will for the first couple of weeks, but once middle school sports kick in, because 6th graders are allowed to play middle school sports, we will pretty much lose all of our middle schoolers for a majority of the school year. But that will allow us to serve up to 90 kids a day after school. You will see us out in the playground for as long as possible once that school bell rings, though, because they have a lot of energy when coming out of the classroom. I will be at Bill Metz on Wednesday and Thursday from 5 to 7 for open house to get kids registered and answer any questions parents have about the program. Hopefully see some new faces. I'm going to reach out to Marsh tomorrow to see if I can go over on Monday and Tuesday for their kindergarten first grade parent orientation and get sign-ups there as well. That way we have an idea of how many to expect the first day after school. And then on the 16th is the first day of school, so it's already here. Other than that, that's really all I have going on. It's not a lot at all.
That's it?
No. But we enjoyed this week. We had Nerf wars every day this week. So the last 2 hours of the day we just spent shooting at each other and having a lot of fun. And yeah, the kids got to take out all of their frustration on the meanest staff in the world. That's what I've had a couple kids. I had a really grumpy boy yesterday that told me that I was the meanest staff he's ever encountered and the meanest staff in the world. So when we started our Nerf wars, I looked at him and said, "You better hope you're on my team." It carried over into today, and I told him I'm just gonna go get me a sash that says "meanest staff ever." By the end of today, he was in a better mood. I don't think I'm as mean as he's trying to convince me I am, but he enjoyed his time this summer, I think.
Awesome. Those point of views usually change.
Yeah. Usually. We'll see once school starts. They're usually only mad when they're in trouble, and then they get over it pretty quick.
Well, it's been really hot. I think everybody's,
Oh yeah.
especially little ones that don't understand how to process
Oh, yeah.
those emotions.
Yeah, well, and our building doesn't have air conditioning yet. That's a wish list. It's been between 82 to, I think my office was 91 one day last week because the windows don't open, so the sun comes in the afternoon and we're baking in there. It smells really good by the end of the afternoon.
Is there any plan in progress to change that, fix that, improve it?
Yes.
There is.
Yes, we have capital funding available, and I worked on trying to get some people out for bids, but couldn't work things out, and I have so much other stuff going on. And you forget about it until summer comes. So it's on my list to get done now that summer is over, and see if we can get somebody to actually make it into the building to give me a bid. But I don't know. We'll probably forget about it when we get to kick that heater on for the winter, and then summer will come and we'll be like, oh, we forgot again. We'll get there. All right. That's all I know.
Thank you.
Alright, I try to go fast and usually go through my stuff really fast. So, last time that I was here, I just reported about our youth programs. We were finishing with baseball. We did finish the baseball league in July 12, and I was happy to announce the two of our teams from Monte Vista made it to the finals and got the championships, one for each division. That's machine pitch and fast pitch. Right now we are in the process of starting volleyball, youth volleyball and football. Volleyball registrations are still open until tomorrow, and this is for 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th graders. So right now we're limited as far as how many kids we can take. Again, because of the facilities, we don't have a facility. We're still using the middle school gym, and we have to share with their program. So with them practicing and us practicing, we really don't have that much time to get in there and get so many teams in there to practice. So we limit it to at least 2 teams per age group. Football kind of divides into flag football and tackle football. Flag football is for 1st and 2nd grades, and tackle football goes for 3rd, 4th, and 5th and 6th graders. And that will be starting, those 2 events will be starting here pretty soon, I would say about a week or so, and they'll run until about October, mid-October or end of October. We had our basketball camp for 3rd through 8th grade. this week. Today was actually the last day. We were able to host it over at the high school, and it was a 3-day camp, like I mentioned, and it was from 9 to 3 every day, and we had about 45 kids attended that camp, and I mean the camp was pretty much, you know, learning ball handling and the scoring skills to help them later on. We are planning another camp here in September or October. Hopefully by then we'll have our new facility. We can get them in there. As far as adult programs, in the last meeting I had mentioned that we were going to try to have the adult softball going on about right now, but we haven't been successful with getting enough teams, and I thought it was because of advertising and not letting people know in enough time. But we're starting to find out that, you know, with starting school and then the harvest and all that stuff, it just kind of gets in the way. People want to play but don't have the time to play. So talking to my assistant, we're just gonna make a change there to actually start at the same time Alamosa does. I know we're kind of gonna have to compete with them. I want to try to avoid that, but if we want to bring some events into Monte Vista, that's probably what we're gonna have to do. So next summer we're gonna try it around June, July, and see how that goes, and try to bring those teams into Monte Vista. We also planning to have adult volleyball as soon as we get ready with the facility to get that going, and that's actually starting like in October. So again, waiting for a facility to be ready and get those programs going. The other one that we mentioned earlier when we were talking about the tennis court is I've been talking to these people about pickleball. We were in talks about starting pickleball before the new Sky High building came up, and we tried a couple of times, but because of the surface at Sky High, it was too slippery. It was hard for them to actually get in there and play. And now they're reaching out to me again about the tennis court, and so that's something that I was just talking to Robert and see if we can work together and get that program going. So when we have our new facility where we have our league together, we have the group together, and just move it indoors during the winter and then have it outdoors during the summertime. We're actually scheduling some community events right now, some fundraisers that we need to do for the Kaboom grant. Like Robert mentioned, it's and I didn't go a lot into detail because I didn't want to take a lot of time, but like Robert mentioned, this is a volunteer community volunteer program. They want the community to get involved. They want the city to invest something in that, and so we are planning some fundraisers. The first one, we talked to the Valley Theater, and they're gonna allow us to play a movie there on August 28th at 1 p.m. And any admission is going to be donations, and everything that we collect there will go towards these funds. Again, it's going to be August 28th at 1 p.m. So if anybody can go and show up and just help us raise some of this money, please do. We're also planning a cornhole tournament, which I have some flyers here that I will leave there on the table. And this is going to be on August 28th also, starting at 2 p.m. here at Chapman Park. We're thinking about the weekend before, but then remember that you guys were having the car show and the brewery there, so that's not gonna work. So we moved it to the following week. This is gonna be open for participants 12 years old and older. We're trying to make this a family-oriented, parent, the dad come and play with the son, or the grandpa come and play with the son, the grandkid. And it's going to cost about $30 per player or $60 per team, of course. And we're going to have some prizes there, like first person to sing 4 bags in a row, get us $50. We also have some pickleball or some cornhole boards there that we're going to raffle out and raise some money that way. I talked to RGPP, which is Rio Grande Prevention Partners, That's a program that we've been working together for the last 5 years, and they're also willing to donate some prizes so that we can raffle them out and make some money out of that. We're gonna have concessions, and we have talked to the chambers to see to have a beer garden. I mean, where's this beer? You can raise some money, right? So they're gonna host that for us, and hopefully we can get that going. Let's see what else. Oh, the last one that we're planning is the car wash fundraiser. We talked to one of our local car wash places here in Monte Vista, and they allow us to have a day to anything that we can get that day. They will donate to our program, and can't be more happy with that. That'll be August 21st, which is the weekend before your car show, so send all the cars that way. We'll let you know where we'll be. We're watching for them. All right, and then last but not least, well, not the last part. Sorry, Sky High, as Chief mentioned, and Robert, we've been working on the contract. We were thinking about the end of this month, August, but I guess we're gonna get it now on the 15th, before the 15th. And we're really excited about this. I can't really express how much, and I want to thank Carla, because she's the one that started all this, and the community put a lot of into this, and you just, like I say, I can't express how much the community needed this, and I can't wait to have this facility. And then last, the Kaboom, we talked a little bit about that. We need all the help that we can. We already have, for the build date on October 18th through the 20th, we already talked to the Monte Vista Fire Department. They're gonna send 10 to 15 guys to help us on the first day, and not specifically on the first day, but one day. We talked to the senior class here at the high school, and they're gonna help us another day. And then the third day will be, part of the whole community that we're gonna try to get together, along with the Kids Connection kids and all that. So we have that ready for those days. Last but not least, I just wanted to remind you, we're a staff. Our department is like 2. We're a staff of 2. And so sometimes him and I will stretch from side to side to get things done and to get many programs going. There's plenty more that we want to do, but we're limited to what we can do. And I just want to thank Kim, because sometimes she's just running from side to side, and I have her do this, look into this, do that, and she does an amazing job. And with our 2 seasonals that we hired this year to work over at the softball fields and the parks, they're doing an amazing job. They keep those. We were full of go-aheads in that park, and now it's like, I think, 80% gone. So they've been doing a good job there, and I just want to bring that up. So if you guys have any questions, I'm here.
Did you say that one of the car washes is gonna donate their car wash for your guys' purpose?
Yes.
So you'll be using their.
So anybody that will go and do the car wash, we still don't know how we're gonna do it. If they're gonna have to pay there, and then they will just write a check to us, or if we can accept. We try not to accept cash, but in that occasion, we don't know what else, So cool. We'll have to work it out still. Thank you.
Alright, staff proposal reports and actions. Oh no, those are done.
We did that.
You gonna make him do it again?
Council, committee, city commission, and council reports. That's one. Do you have anything?
I do not have any reports. Your turn.
We always know I've got something to say. Okay, who said that? I heard that. I want to start off with, there's a lot of positive things going on here. I mean, we've heard from the optimistics tonight. We know Sky High's coming, the noxious weeds are going away. The tennis court's gonna be fixed one way or the other. We've got a new park coming in. These are all really great things. These are all also things that make it, in my opinion, imperative that we get an economic developer in here, so that we can utilize these things to their fullest extent. We do not want to do all of this work on Adams Street and 160 and then either have empty buildings, storage buildings, or simply office buildings that don't serve the needs of the local shopping needs and don't bring in tourism. So we need someone professional that can hire that out. I understand that we've talked about some money tonight. We all seem to always talk about some money. Jennifer Sign's last financial report, which on the surface sounded really good, and it was really good, said that, you know, the way things were left, we could go for 18 months with a complete revenue shutoff and still be okay. That sounded really good when she first said that, and I went home and thought about it. What in the world would have to happen for that revenue stream to be cut off for 18 months? At that point, we are fighting off some sort of alien invasion, or we're all dead. One or the other. But if we have 18 months worth of a slush fund, then we have enough money to pay an economic developer right then and there to get them started. We have enough money to pay that first year's salary without a problem, and if they're worth their salt, by the time they have worked for that first year, we have raised our tax base enough, they're paying for themselves. So I don't think that's a question anymore. I really want that. I don't know if we need to get that on the agenda. I don't know. I'm not sure what we need to do, but that's, and like I said, in my opinion, absolutely imperative. I would like to see the city council and planning and zoning work a little more closely together. We get suggestions from these people, and then we have to decide whether we're going to go along with them or not. And I think they're competent people, but don't we do a better job when we work together insteed of just, there's this committee over here who sends a message to this committee over here, who sends a message to this committee over here, and then, you know, how about we work together for a little while? See if we can't come up with some great ideas to address all these positive things that are happening. To address Ms. McNerney's concern, I think that's a valid concern. And that's why I'd like to see city council, and it's one of the reasons I like to see city council and planning and zoning working more closely together. Can we come up with an ordinance that is fair and as least burdensome as possible to building and business owners that would help keep things maintained once they're built, once they're made, once they're put up there? Can we come up with this? That's going to be something that planning and zoning and the council have to come up with together. You know, that we have to do that. We've got the new tennis courts going in. That's fantastic. Revitalization, you know, that's just kind of repeating. We need to help plan how the buildings downtown can be used. Ms. Basher came in here several months ago, and I don't remember exactly why she was saying it, but something she said stuck with me. She talked about growth versus responsible growth. Growth is simply filling buildings. Responsible growth is filling buildings with things that benefit our locals as well as our guests and our town overall. Therefore, the responsible growth has got to happen. We don't want to do all this and then mess it up just by putting whatever we can get into whatever building we can get them into. We need to have that more planned out. Again, that takes us back to the economic development professional. I would also like to just remind everyone that European standards on anything do not apply here. So if we could just kind of let that go. Thank you very much. That's all I've got.
I just want to thank the city and staff because I do think that also the citizens that we are moving in a positive direction. You know, moving forward, hopefully the city will be a totally different beast in 4 or 5 years. You know, hopefully we can see a whole lot of change. Keep your eyes open. There's a bunch of people walking the streets. Can look on Monte Vista Community Awareness and see people that are, you know, getting pictures from their cameras, and you know, so keep an eye out. If you have a dog and he's loud, let him out. You know, protect your neighbors. They're important people because they help to protect your property as well. That's really about it that I have. I will be submitting my candidacy, I guess, to run again for this next time around. So you guys will be stuck with me maybe. So, but I've enjoyed it quite a bit. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And then just one last thing, I guess, is doesn't pertain to really a whole lot, but your Monte Vista football team is selling some Monte Vista cards. I don't know if you guys have seen these or not, but if you are interested in one of those, they are $25, and they give you guys a whole bunch of coupons that you can use over again. Some keychains that you cannot, but if you're interested, we have those. So other than that, we will recess, right, till August the 9th.